Welcome back to DL Uncut. Our next guest is a Democrat, a scientist, and a minister running for governor of Arkansas. Please welcome Chris Jones.
How you doing,
Hey,
Mr.
Chris.
Jones? How are you?
I'm blessed. How are you all?
I think
Blessed
you
and
should
highly
take,
favored.
if you're going to run for governor of Arkansas, you better take Democrat and scientists out of it. They can get away with the minister.
Don't say that.
We're going all in. We're going all in.
Okay. It's very interesting because science isn't exactly the fare of the day in Arkansas. It isn't. There seems to be a notion that having an interest in what scientists say, or an interest in an intellectual perspective, at least by the governance so far, because as evidenced by Sarah Huckabee, I'm like, if she's your opponent, I mean, science or truth seems to be not the same thing.
Well, it's not just Arkansas. It's a lot of places.
Sure.
But there are more folks on the ground who care about truth and who care about science and who care about faith than you would realize.
Okay, well, and the reason I say that is because there definitely in Arkansas is the one thing I can say is that the rural vote and the urban vote agree on in Arkansas is reticence to take the vaccine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
there's certain
Which is what I was
vaccines.
thinking.
Absolutely.
so one
Absolutely.
thing rednecks and black conspiracy theorists agree on is we don't trust this shit. Right?
And we don't want it.
Right?
There is hesitancy. You are
Okay,
correct.
that hesitancy is detrimental to both people, both groups, right?
It is.
So
It
there is a way where there is a mistrust of science and intellect, but regardless of urban or suburban or rural, they have a reticence to accept a sign. I think on the black side, I can understand because there have been traditionally things that have been detrimental to them, whether Steph Johnson did, or the Tuskegee experiment. On the rural side, it's just lies and conspiracy theories. So how do you call those two groups together? The only thing they can agree on is something that doesn't work to forge a message that does.
Yeah, I think there's a bigger picture, right? There's distrust in institutions, period. Whether it's the government, whether it's medical institutions, whether it's educational institutions, there's distrust. And part of what we're doing is going out, one, always being truthful and honest, two, engaging with our Kansans directly, whether they're rural or urban, and building that trust and building on trusted relationships. So,
what are the things that we can all agree on? Because we all need infrastructure. We all need proper schools. We all need economic opportunities.
Food
right?
on our table.
Right,
exactly.
all of us, no
We
matter
all
who
need
you are.
good health care. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Right. So what do you think, because there has to be a level of congruence. We have to say these things are off the table. These things are irrespective of your ideological view. These things in the campaigns have to have specificity. What is it you can give them that you feel like, because I really think Sarah Huckabee is counting on cachet. She was a liar. I mean, a spokesperson
You were right the
for
first
a
time.
liar. And her father was the governor of Arkansas. I am, but I'm just asking you. So, and she already comes in with certainly a large amount of cachet. What? How do you and money?
Cash.
How do you connect with the people of Arkansas to let them know what it is in it for them? Because all of them, what is in it for them?
Right. So, our campaign is built on three key pillars, and that's what we're going to focus on. Not the exclusion of other things, but infrastructure. We all need rural broadband, period. 25% of our state doesn't have access to rural broadband. Another 20% can't afford it. Infrastructure is also bridges. We have a bridge that's closed down between Arkansas and Memphis, and we're losing $25 million of economic activity a day. The other thing is education. So that's the second pillar, education. We want to make sure that everyone wants their child to be educated. Everyone wants their kids to have an opportunity and success in life. And that happens through the educational pathway, from early childhood education all the way to career. And the third pillar is economic development. It's really about mom and pop shops supporting Main Street businesses. So the job I had before this job interview I'm on now, was I ran the Arkansas Regional Innovation Hub. And we were a center that supported small business, supported education, and supported individuals by providing resources and tools and skills.
Mm-hmm.
We can do that all across the state, and people agree on that.
But how is like you're talking about improving education?
Yeah.
How? Because elementally, because that's a great. Everybody. I mean, Huckabee would say that, right? She would say to improve
Yeah.
education
Yeah.
with specificity. How would you do it? Because ultimately, if we agree that education is important, where we disagree is how, is where it
Yeah.
starts.
Let me hit on two parts. The sort of front end. I ran track in high school, and the most important part of a track race is the coming out the blocks. If you come out the blocks strong, you set yourself up for success. Set yourself up for success. So when we talk about universal access to pre-K for everyone, every Arkansas, that's something that Arkansans agree on. They want their children to be ready to go into kindergarten, because we also know that if you're able to read by the third grade, then you're also on a path for success. And right now, unfortunately, 2/3 of our Arkansans cannot
Right.
read at grade.
True. That's yeah.
The
Yeah.
other end of the spectrum is the sort of the back end, right? And look, I love higher education. I spend a ton of time in higher education. You can look at my background and see that. And yet I know that we need to provide options. So we think about things like skills trades as well. How do we provide apprenticeship programs, partnering with business, partnering with community colleges that provide these trades, these skills trades to students so that they have options to either be ready for higher education or be ready for trade or entrepreneurship. And on either end, look, I've gone across the state from small places that have 700 people as their residents to larger places that have about 50,000 folks. And the consistent theme I've heard is that absolutely we want to prepare our kids. Absolutely we want to have options on the other end.
You know what's interesting? You get attacked for being a scientist in sciences, right? You get attacked for that.
Not
Well,
really.
well, you will, because
I will. I will.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course, not really,
Yeah.
because I don't think they understand how serious this is. I,
Yeah.
you raise some great ideas and great questions. I really do think we still have a problem with a lot of people in the country feeling like the quarterback should always look a certain way. The leader should always look a certain way. He should have a certain affect. That's just the reality. And to pretend like it doesn't exist is detrimental.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so when you say that you are, you can be a lot of things, but I think there is a reticence to accept the role of science in a democracy. Like right now, we're seeing how the lack of trust in science is literally killing a lot of people, and particularly in certain regions of the country, it's stronger than others. It's everywhere, but you happen to be of a region that is more prone to believe that science is antithetical to Christianity or to God. So how do you address that?
Well, we address it head on. I think in Arkansas, there are 3 million people in Arkansas. We have 75 counties across the state. There are folks believe a range of different things. So yes, there absolutely will be people who will say, "You're a scientist, I don't want to hear you.
Right.
You're a black man, I don't want to hear you.
Right.
You're a minister, I don't want to hear you. You went off to college, I don't want to hear you."
Right.
We're going to have that.
Yeah.
And my job is to go and directly engage each of those individuals to listen to them first. Because the reason that people don't want to hear from scientists, people don't want to hear from ministers and so on and so forth, is because far too often we come in telling folks what to do and what's right, as opposed to listening to them respectfully and with grace first.
Yeah, I agree. But at a certain point, if it's a jump ball, the way I should live my life, jump ball. The way I should, the things I should believe, jump ball. But whether whether these things are bad for you or not isn't. There's some things that science concretely adds that you can nuance that shouldn't be. We're in a position right now as a nation where we have a very fragmented approach to a universe to an international problem, and because we're so fragmented here, we don't have a united. There are things that science does better than anything else.
Anyone.
There are things that religion, that the ministry can do better than anything else. And there are things that government does. You're going to have to do all three of those things.
Absolutely.
And I think that to me, it would be exciting. A young man has this continuum of experiences and brought them home to a place that could use them. Because literally, Huckabee is counting on two things: cachet, like the president's gonna come here, and he gonna say I'm great, and my father was here. That my father was. That's the campaign.
But
and it's powerful.
But here's what I see. No, it's enormously powerful. I think what's more powerful is the pain that people are feeling on a daily basis. The pain from being confused about what's coming out and what they should do. The pain of not knowing what's going to happen with their kids in school. The pain of losing jobs even before COVID. So there's a lot of pain that people are feeling. And I think what we're talking about is, one, tapping into that. By tapping into it, meaning understanding. But the other thing that we're doing is being truthful and honest, because you're absolutely right. There are some facts that have to be shared uncompromisingly. The facts are that our numbers in Arkansas are going up like crazy with COVID, like crazy. And the facts are that at this pace and at this rate, we're going to be in a situation where our hospitals are overtaxed, and staffing is already an issue because doctors and nurses are already stressed. So we have to start with a basis of facts. And then from there, we work on what are the appropriate solutions.
I also think you have to start from a place of trust. Because I think, for so long now, for so many months, we've heard so many different things, whether you're talking about COVID, whether you're talking about promises about equal opportunity in education, all of these things, when ultimately, no matter where you fall on either side, everybody has the same common denominator, and that is we just want to be happy. I want to be able to provide for my family. I want us to be okay. So the question is, how do you get people who are on different sides to meet in the middle, to come to that common denominator and at least agree that we have to do something as a community to work together so that we can get to that point? Because COVID doesn't care what color you are, doesn't care what side of the party line you fall. Right. So how do you get everybody to come together and at least come to at least that agreement?
Look, I love that question. I think it's great. And I would say that people are actually already there. In the national discourse, in much of our public discourse, among the folks who pull the power levers, there's a lot of division. But when I get out and I'm walking the streets, when I get out and I'm at events, when I get out and I'm talking to folks, there's already a space that is occupied by the majority of people that doesn't get addressed and doesn't get talked about, which is why the three things that we're focused on are education, economic development, and infrastructure. Because that's a space that people are. And if we can make progress in that space, and I think Arkansans deserve us making progress in that space, then we can move from the bottom five to the top five.
But with all respect, there are people who don't want progress at their expense. There are people who don't. If he got it, I don't want it, and I don't want him to have it. Yeah. You can look at the whole of some regions of this country and the Affordable Health Care Act, which would have saved a lot of people. Like, look at the mortality rate in certain regions of the country, and it's primarily because they don't have access to medical care.
Exactly.
But that's a vote they made. They decided that. Yeah. How do you address that? I don't understand how you say if it's good but both of us is good for us.
Right.
Some people don't feel that way.
Some people don't feel that way. No, I totally agree. I mean, this is a decades long problem, a centuries long problem, where people have been convinced to vote against their own self-interest.
Yes, and successfully.
And it works. And we believe that the antidote to that for Arkansas. Look, I'm not trying to solve the problem for the whole nation, not at all. I'm talking about the 3 million folks that are in Arkansas. We can go and directly engage folks, and we have. In places like Harrison and Mena and Pine Bluff and Gould that have a history across the board. And directly engaging them is what's going to make the difference, because the thing about Arkansans is that they may have these ideologies about certain things, but they always prioritize. We always prioritize the personal relationship over those ideologies.
I'm cynical. And I'm
That's fine.
And I'm cynical. And the same cynicism you're going to have
to... I'm a scientist. So we are running an experiment. Right. I have a hypothesis. Right? And I believe that these variables will impact the outcome. And we're going to work as hard as we can.
If you say variable in Arkansas, you're going to lose by 30 points. Don't say that word.
Right. God damn it. I'm a scientist, though. That's what I say.
Hey, look, I'm saying it, man. I'm going to say it.
It's very interesting. I see young, erudite men like you and want to stay home. They want to make the places that they grew up in that they love better.
Yep, I love it.
And I think the problem is, a lot of people don't feel like that. A lot of people have just shut their minds off and decided that it's either this way or that way. I want to talk to you about Protecting Voting Rights Act. What you're passionate about. But there's some people, a great many people, and a great many people who are residents of your state, who believe that is negotiable, that voters' rights aren't all that important.
Optional, right?
Right. So, and then the core tenet of there's supposed to be a core tenet of our civilization, of our society. How do you have that conversation with them? They say, "Hey, man, it's important that the person who doesn't agree anything with you at all has a right to have a say in it." That's how do you have that conversation?
Look, well, first of all, again, I go back. Like this is not new. It's not only limited to Arkansas. Folks have been trying to restrict the right to vote for everyone for a long time since the founding of this country. Yes, and particularly in Arkansas, most recently, the legislature just decided, look, to go wild on trying to do as much as they could. A lot of them just grabbed some national legislation, put Arkansas on it, and tried to pass it.
Right.
But the goal of that, to your point, is to restrict voting. And I'll tell you this. We had 1.2 million people voted in the last cycle in 2020.
That's a big percentage of a state that's 3 million. That's a very big percentage.
Well, yes and no. We're 50th in voter registration and 50th in voter turnout. And almost 900,000 people could have voted but didn't. So what are we doing? We're going out to energize the 420,000 folks who did vote for Joe Biden and have voted for Democrats, but also to wake up the almost 900,000 people who didn't vote at all but could have voted. Now, are we going to convince everyone that this is the right thing to do? Absolutely not. But are we going to try to convince everyone it's the right thing to do? Absolutely. Because until we step up and we begin to get folks in positions of power and we begin to change the narrative and pull the levers, they will always bring forth restricted voting rights. It's going to happen.
But it's a simple thing. If you want to stay in the lowest percentile, keep doing things the way you do it. Literally. Right. You don't have to change anything. You don't have to change governors. You don't have to change city councils. You don't have to change citizens. You can stay 50th in the lower percentile just by doing nothing. But if you want to change your future, you have to do things differently. And there are people who have decided we're not just talking about you regionally. We're talking about the fact that you're asking people to do something different, and they got to find out what's going to be different for them. Their schools can be better. Their quality of health care can be better. Their air can be better. Their quality of life can be better. Or you can, right. But you have to tell, to me, the estimation is you can keep things the way they are that are the reason why most of you don't vote, or you can do something aspirational and start to change our pathways. And it can't be based on the ideas that Arkansas and several states, this is Arkansas, aren't working. It ain't working. It ain't working. It's great. It's cute.
We tried it.
Look,
tried it.
Right. It ain't working. Do you want the potential for something to go right, or do you want to say, I voted for a daddy, I want to do it again?
Look, you need to come to Arkansas and get out on the road with me.
Are you scared? Are you crazy?
Okay, Chris, slow down.
Are you crazy? Are you crazy?
Listen, good luck to you, Chris. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a good one.
Man, good luck to you. I hope the best for you. And if it don't work out, come with me. You can go on the road with me. It'll be great.
That's a different kind of campaign, Chris. Different kind of campaign.
Good luck to you, man. Good luck to you.
Yeah.